Last night on MasterChef Australia, Danny used her immunity pin to sidestep an elimination, sending Alana into battle with Ellie. And it was Ellie who saw her dreams brought to an end.
I'm sorry, you're out.
It's been an absolute roller coaster, but I've had some just incredible moments and I'll never forget any of it.
Tonight, it's MasterClass. Gary and George offer brilliant tips on plating up.
Next dish we're going to tackle, let's see if we can guess whose this one is.
To help steer our top 4 back to perfection.
Looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Thank you.
A dish to warm up those wet weekends.
Braised short ribs with Chinese radish.
It's just a perfect winter dish, like really warm and filling. And
it's beautiful. Fantastic.
And a stunning private masterclass from Anthea Leonard.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Sweetheart.
Revealing techniques used to create amazing cakes.
I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store. They're just adorable.
The last MasterClass before finals week.
Morning.
morning.
I'm just hoping to find that one little tip that I can put into a dish next week in the finals. Any little thing that can help one of my dishes go from a good dish to a great dish. It's something that I want to take with me.
Welcome back to the MasterChef Kitchen and welcome to another masterclass. You are our top 4. What a motley bunch you are. Does it feel special?
Yes.
Make the most of it. This is the point in the competition where any little tip or trick that you can pick up might make the difference between being the winner or not.
As you know, each week we pick a couple of you to go out on a private masterclass, an opportunity to learn from some of the best people in the business. And this week it's a company with a reputation for excellence and creativity. And here's a little surprise for you, because finals week is right around the corner. All of you are going.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, amazing.
You're going to go to Sweet Art in Paddington, where you're going to learn some advanced cake design and sugar work. First up today, though, we're going to look back at this week's mystery box. You had to choose the ingredients for your fellow competitor that you thought they might struggle with. Kate, your mystery box was picked by Danny, and that contains flounder, scampi, some herb spices, and some coconut milk.
Yep.
Quite an Asian-inspired mystery box. How'd you feel about that?
I think Danny picked my weaknesses spot on, seafood and Asian. She did well, and consequently, I did not do so well.
That's okay, because that's what MasterClass is all about, fixing your weaknesses. And today I'm going to take the exact same ingredients and make a dish that I would have done on the day. It's going to be roasted flounder with scampi. Kate, why don't you come up and give me a hand?
Sure.
Good stuff. Will you two keep yourself busy? I'll go and prep the next dish. See you soon.
Okay, the first step of this dish is to prepare the scampi, and we're going to use the scampi in a couple different ways. So all the bones we're going to make a little oil with, and all the meat we're going to use inside a cannelloni, but also for presentation.
Sounds good.
Now, the first step is to prepare the scampi, and it's quite easy. I mean, what you've got to be careful of is these bones here. They're really sharp.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I've always got a tea towel on the bench. All right, so I'm generally wrapping that up, pulling the head off. Okay. That head is full of flavour and there's so much you can do with that. I mean, soup, stocks, bisques, oils, which we're going to make today, a little crustacean oil, but that should never go in the bin.
Yeah.
Then we just cover it up and just give it a little, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so I've just crushed the bones to make it easier to pull apart. Open it back up and then gently with a tea towel, because you don't want to cut yourself.
Break it apart.
Pull.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay? So you want to keep the integrity of that scampi. You don't want to wreck it. Now, the poop chute is just there, so I can just pull that out like that. All right? That's the intestinal tract. Now, next step is to make our oil. Now, what we've got here is all the bones from these peeled scampi, and we've just crushed them roughly with the back of a meat mallet, all right? A little bit of oil first in the fry pan, Kate. Yep. Okay, now we can put some of our shells and heads in. Just enough to roughly cover the bottom of your pan. So we're just gonna let that sizzle, yeah? I don't want it to fry really hard, I just want it to sizzle. What we're looking for is just a bit of goldenness to these shells. Give them a turn and let's have a look. Yeah, see how they're starting to get that little tinge
So that's enough.
of red? Yeah. At this point there, we've got some aromats here. 1 whole golden shallot, okay, which you had in your box.
Yep.
That we sliced quite fine. So we've got some ginger, about a good tablespoon worth sliced. We've got garlic, 2 cloves sliced, and some chilli. It's the large chilli. And then finally, some lime leaf. We've got 4 lime leaves there. At that point there, we can top this pan up with oil.
Oh, right.
All right?
Okay. Just cover it.
Pouring it in, yeah. Okay, we've prepared our scampis and we've got our scampi meat. What we need to do next is make a scampi mousse that's going to go inside a cannelloni. The first thing to do, Kate, is trim up our scampi, and all the trimmings is what I'm going to actually use inside the fish mousse. So just to prepare it, we take some of the top off, some of the bottom off, okay? And these we set aside for presentation later. Some of the top off, some of the bottom off, okay?
Yep. Nice.
Right. And then all these trimmings here, they're going to go into this fish mousse here. Now, when we've prepared the flounder, all the trimmings, they've gone into a little liquidizer. I've used some egg white, which you had in your box, some cream, which you had in your box, and I've made just a simple fish mousse here. Lots of salt as well, because salt tightens the protein in the seafood, all right, when you make a mousse. All right, and that's the consistency you should have, right there. So to this here, which is about a cup worth of fish mousse, I add, about a half a cup of chopped up scampi trimmings, all right? To this fish and scampi mixture, we add a half a tablespoon of ginger, a half a tablespoon of garlic, and a half a tablespoon of chilli. Okay, and then finally, you had lime.
Yep.
So I want lots of lime in this dish because I love it. If you could microplane a whole lime in there. All right. Kate, time to give it a mix. What we've got here is some pasta sheets that we've just pre-rolled out. All right? You all know how to make pasta by now. We're going to poach these sheets of pasta prior to stuffing them with the scampi mousse. All right, so we've got some boiling salted water there. Our pasta sheet goes in. And this doesn't take long at all, huh? You've got to be really quick, a couple of seconds, okay? And then it comes out straight onto a cloth. So basically, I've just partly cooked it. It's going to finish cooking when we poach the cannellonis. We take our scampi mousse, that's in the piping bag. Then we roll. Okay, as soon as the edges meet, we trim. Because I don't want thick pasta around there.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, we take some of our plastic wrap We lay this on our bench. It's important to roll it around plenty of times. Okay. There's our little cannelloni.
Sausage.
Yeah. Okay, to tie the ends, I take some string. Okay. So in a kitchen, fish is in the pan, into the water, 4 minutes, up to the pass, serve. Well, we've made lots today. We've made our crustacean oil, we've made our mousse, made our cannelloni. All that's left to do is cook everything and assemble.
Coming up, George puts the finishing touches to his reinvention of Kate's flounder and scampi dish.
That mousse is beautiful, just with the pop of the chilli and the ginger, as you said, would happen. It's really delicious.
Plus,
you've got to remember with food, if it doesn't look good, it's never going to taste great.
George and Gary have some simple tips for turning lacklustre plating from woeful to wow.
Looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with that.
Then a little later,
This stew is going to have a ton of flavour.
Gary's delicious one-pot wonder, braised short ribs with Chinese cabbage. Also on MasterClass,
Have fun with it. That's the best thing about cake decorating.
we visit sugar artist extraordinaire Anthea Leonard for a fascinating lesson in cake decoration and presentation skills.
We are cooking roasted flounder with scampi. Next up is we need to cook everything and plate up. So our little crustacean scampi oil has been on a really low simmer for about, an hour and a half to 2 hours. Now it's time for us to pass all this off, so we're left with that beautiful golden scampi flavoured oil. Now what we've got here is some muslin cloth, and we're just going to pass our oil through that. Look how deep red that is. Smells great, doesn't it? Then we just pick our muslin cloth up with our shells. Looks great, doesn't it? Make sure we push out any skerrick of oil, because that's worth so much money. Okay, so that's our scampi oil made. Right, now it's time to cook everything. So first step is to get the flounder on, because that's going to take the longest to cook. But we're going to cook everything on the stovetop. Nothing needs to go into the oven. Okay. All right? Now, I'm just going to put some olive oil in the pan and a little bit of our scampi oil. All right? To back the flavour up. Okay, so our flounder, we season it right at the last minute, and we've got to make sure it's at room temperature before we cook it. Skin side down. So this fish is going to take about 4 to 5 minutes to cook. The next step is to cook our scampi, and I'm going to get you to do that, Kate. So what I want you to do is take some of that scampi oil and put it into your pan. Keep going. So about 5-6 tablespoons, that's enough. Then we're going to take our scampi, and what we're going to basically do is gently warm them up. We're not going to fry them hard. Okay, so you can pop them in. What we want to do is just cook them through without colour. We want the colour of that oil to bleed into the flesh. So at this point, we've warmed up the oil, but turn the gas off. Yeah, right. Okay, and all that residual heat in there is just going to gently cook them through. Okay, and it's important to season these as well with salt. See, they're starting to take shape?
Yeah.
So just roll them around in the oil, in that warm oil, and they will just cook beautifully. Right, our fish is now ready to turn over. It's been on one side for 2 minutes.
Oh, nice.
We want it on the other side for another 2 minutes. So to freshen our scampi up, we've got some lime segments here. And I'll pop these in last minute, because if I cook these, they're going to go all sort of mushy and stuff. Not really nice. All right, and we can just set that aside, ready to plate up. Okay, our fish is looking really good. Loving the look of this. Look at that, golden.
Oh, nice.
At this point here, I turn the gas off. I take some butter, and we're just gonna roll the fish around in that butter for flavour, okay? Which is Bernoisette, nut brown butter. But what's nice is you take some lime juice and you just freshen it up again. All right, that
Looks beautiful.
is yum. Okay, from there, we pop that onto our plating up tray. A little baste one more time with that yummy butter goodness. Okay, Kate, do you want to pull out our cannelloni really gently? To check if they're cooked, you should feel some resilience there.
Yes.
Okay, pop that here. Okay. And we just need to take it apart. Okay, so we take the cannelloni out of the cling film. Right, let's plate up. Our fish goes down first. Then our cannelloni. And then our scampi. A few of these lime segments, and then lots of this beautiful, yummy oil. Okay, and then to finish, some mint. And then we've got here a little bit of candied lime. We've taken that lime zest and just candied that in a bit of stock syrup. And there you have it, roasted flounder with scampi.
Very nice.
Ooh. Always just in time for a little taste. That looks beautiful, mate. Really gorgeous.
Does anyone want to taste?
Yes, please.
Yep. Right, everyone come up.
Yeah.
Kate, come on, get in there, you made it.
Cannelloni.
Delicious, very delicate. Flounder's a beautiful fish, isn't it? Oh, it's a lovely fish. And what I love about it, because it's a flat fish, easy to eat because you can just slide the fillets off the bone.
Michael?
I love the flounder, even though you've taken the skin off the outside, it's really crispy and crunchy still, but so soft and delicate on the inside. And that mousse is beautiful just with the pop of the chilli and the ginger, as you said, would happen. It's really delicious.
Danny?
I just love the delicate hidden flavours in the oil that just come out when you eat it. Like, it's only subtle, but it just goes with the delicate fish and the mousse.
Kate, what do you think of the dish?
It's so opposite end of the spectrum compared to my dish. I'm feeling really grateful today for having seen that. I think, okay, now I actually know what to do with flounder, now I know what to do with scampi, and now I can take it and do something else.
Good girl. Brilliant, guys. Back to your seats.
Thank you.
Right, my top tips for roast flounder with scampi is number one, when cooking fish, make sure the fish is at room temperature before you put it into your frying pan. Number two, season your fish with salt just before it goes into the pan. And number three, when making a crustacean oil, it's not about vigorously boiling that oil. It's about gentle, long period of time, extract out that flavour.
Up next,
Food like this needs some herb where you just rip stuff off and throw it on.
George gives a fresh face to Kate and Alana's plating disasters.
It looks like it's delicate. It looks like I really want to eat it.
Then later,
My unborn children are not having cakes like this.
an easy way to achieve professional cake finishes.
Michael, you keep eating the icing. There's not going to be any left.
Yesterday was a really emotional day here in the kitchen. It was Ali versus Alana.
Ellie, this was the last time you cooked in the MasterChef kitchen. I'm sorry, you're out.
The girls were in an elimination called Fix Your Biggest Stuff Up, and unfortunately, Ellie went home. It got Gary and I thinking that one of the biggest problems you guys have in this competition is plating up. So that's what we're going to address today. We've chosen one of each of your least impressive dishes from the past, and we're going to show you how we would replate them. Kate, it's time to replate one of your dishes. Let's have a look at the one we chose. Your retro coffee cake.
Coffee cake.
Nothing wrong with its flavour, because it was absolutely delicious.
I really like it. I think it's funny. I think the story's great.
But in terms of its presentation, whoa. Before we replate this dish, I want to have a chat to you guys about the way you pick crockery, okay? Now, when I think about food, I always keep in mind, I mean, you're in the MasterChef kitchen where you've got a scullery of lots of different dishes. So you need to make sure right from the beginning, just before you start cooking something or creating something on paper, what plate do you want to put it on? What's going to capture the theme of your food? So, for example, there's lots of little timber boards here. What food would generally go on timber boards? Would I put a soft little spongy cake on a timber board? No, not at all. Something that's earthy, yes. You know, mushrooms, pheasant, game, goes on timber. It asks for that feeling. When that comes to the table, presented with maybe canopies of Spanish tapas, you can feel the board and it transports you to a place. You know, this spoon here, what would we put in that? A beef fillet? No. But, you know, a raw little scallop that's been cured in yuzu and olive oil would go in there. These little copper pots here. Michael, what would go into one of these?
Maybe mashed potatoes?
Yeah, definitely. You know, some, you know, little side dish, a little gratin of potatoes that you make in that dish, bake in that dish, and then serve that at the table as part of a little banquet of dishes, okay? Kate, if you had a second chance, what dish would you pick to plate up now? Come up.
Come and choose.
Talk me through your process, the way your brain's thinking now.
Looking at the selection here, I'd probably actually go something a bit retro to try and fit with the retro theme of the cake, maybe.
Okay. That's not a bad choice. But, you know, for me, I'd go for something...
like a bowl.
Something white and something bowlish. I'll tell you why. You've got that round cylinder tian, we call that. And I want that to look like it's grand.
Yeah.
And what the bowl's going to do, it's going to open the shape up. So when it comes to me, I'm looking into it. Shall we try it?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Now, what we've got here is basically that exact cake, the exact recipe that you made, Kate.
Yep.
The same buttercream, the same sponge, coffee sponge. The only thing we've done is not covered the outside.
Yep.
All right, and made those into layers. And I just think that looks quite
Looks
nice.
prettier.
Looks
Much
pretty.
pretty.
So what we do is we've got some mise en place equipment here, which I'm going to talk you through. So we've got a little spatula here. So we take the cake first, and that goes into the middle. Then what we've got here is the apples that you put on the plate, but rather than cutting them long, I've cut them into little chunks.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing them in raw, so they retain their shape, but they then got some relief when you crunch into them. Let's just take a few of them out of the syrup, pop them on that plate before we pop them onto that.
Is that so that the syrup doesn't ooze all over the plate?
That's right. I want to put syrup on the plate, but I want to control that, and I can control that by popping it on at the end, okay? So gently I'm going to put... I just think that looks quite nice.
Looks prettier.
Now, I've got some of this little buttercream left, and I thought, how can I show that off? Little teaspoons, little quenelles. Okay? 3 of them. Then finally, what I've got here is some of the almonds that you put on the plate. So we just, with the tweezers, we place these on. Okay? Our almonds are on, right? Now, at this point, I want to put some syrup on. A little bit. Then I've got some of the vanilla that was left, and I've just done little battens of vanilla that I just fleck on there.
I like that because that gives the contrast
It's
that I was
just popping
talking
now,
about.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Starting to pop.
Yep.
Starting to go, okay, yep, it's making sense.
Yep.
All right, okay. And then finally, these little rocket leaves. Well, there you have it, Kate. Retro coffee cake from 1978. Retro coffee cake from year 2011.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much better. It looks like it's delicate. It looks like I really want to eat it, whereas that one I still go,
Well, there you have it, Kate. Hope you got a few little new tips and tricks on how to plate up.
Absolutely, huge
Back
help.
you go. Alana, do you remember this one?
Yep.
Spanish invention test. You actually have some really beautiful flavours here, but it just looks, I don't know, unappealing. So what I want to do today is not actually change any of your flavours, but just replate it. Right, Alana, come on up. Alana, do you like the way this is plated?
No, I remember having a lot of trouble thinking how on earth I was going to plate it, so I just chucked it in bowls and on a plate.
Okay, first step, let's gather some crockery. All right. Now, I love the breadth of this, you know, big sort of chopping board, you know, because you can imagine that walking to your dining room table, your friends are gathered around and they're like, wow, what's going on there? Okay, so what's in there? What are we going to eat? And it also invites people to share. What I've got here is a little bit of greaseproof paper, and everyone, you know, keeps greaseproof paper at home, so no big deal. Pop that down on the board to protect what you're going to put there, and some of your anchovies that you made, which I thought were fabulous. All right. The next step is these potatoes. Now, I liked how they're all quite, you know, just smashed up, lots of flavour, really simple. Now, it's important with food like this, it gets a bit of gloss and shine, okay? I think let's put them in this dish here. Again, we're using tweezers, so I put things in neatly and gently. Again, as I'm plating up, I'm glossing and shining, okay, to make sure my potatoes look appetising. Some of that oil just over the top, okay. Food like this needs some herb where you just rip stuff off and throw it on. And I've got a few little thyme leaves here that I just literally pull and fleck on. Next, the skewers. So this is your one, this is my one. Okay, so I've made them a little bit smaller so they actually fit in with the platter. So I'm creating a little bit of height, a little bit of wow. What herb would you like to put on them, just to give them a bit of life?
I think some parsley.
Some parsley,
Yep.
okay, we can put parsley on there. Okay. And then finally, of course, a little bit of olive oil just to, you know, gloss it all up. And then our two sauces. What sauce was this?
It was a capsicum.
A capsicum sauce. Which one would you put it in?
I'd put in this one.
Okay, I actually would put it in that one.
Okay.
Because it's already red. That's a lighter red, so it's just gonna come out even further, okay? Because we eat with our eyes, so. Right, a little drizzle of olive oil, and it makes it appealing. Then finally, our little green sauce here. What was in that?
It was like parsley, coriander, lemon juice, all the good stuff.
Okay, and then finally some lemons. But it's important to take those lemons to another level by removing the pips. Okay, and the lemons will just go with this, okay? Well, there you have it. There's my Spanish tasting plate and there's yours. All I've done is replate them. You've got to remember with food, if it doesn't look good, it's never going to taste great, okay? So it's important to make sure that your food looks absolutely gorgeous.
When we return,
What we're trying to do is just create a bit of symmetry or balance on the plate.
Gary revisits dishes from Danny and Michael and makes improvements.
So what I'm doing is just taking little bits of the kimchi, and then I want to pop a little piece of that beautiful Spanish mackerel over the top.
And later on MasterClass,
I feel like I'm back in primary school. Art lesson, just create what I want.
a crash course in creating fanciful cake designs with renowned sugar artist Anthea Leonard.
Right, next dish we're going to tackle. Let's see if we can guess whose this one is. Does that look familiar?
Yep.
Danny, that was a dish that you created from the Uber mystery box, where you had to use every single ingredient in the box. You put together a rabbit, which you braised, with a sweet puree, and these interesting little balls of pate on the top of glacé fruits. Yum!
I thought they were yum.
Pressure of competition, we're not taking the mickey, we know it's difficult. But let's revisit this dish and see what we can do with it. Danny, up you come.
Oh, scary.
It is scary, isn't it? It doesn't look great, does it? Let's be honest.
It's awful.
Right, I'm sure Gary's going to show you how to sort this dish out, all right? So I'll leave you to it. Enjoy.
So let's get rid of that for a second. We can't do this whole dish from scratch. But what I would have done is stuff the rabbit leg.
Yeah.
So what we did is we took a bit of the front runner of the rabbit, we made a mousse, and then we popped it inside that rabbit, and we tied it, and then we pot roasted the rabbit. And then put a bit of colour on the skin, all right? So that's the rabbit leg. The swede, I thought I'd revisit completely. And also the glacé fruits. And the rabbit farce, gonna keep those whole and fry them and serve them onto the plate, all right? So let's revisit the swede. I wouldn't have done a swede puree. I would have made a swede fondant or a roasted swede. So all I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna cut a nice big square. And I'm gonna cook that in butter. So we'll get that kicked off. So a little pot, and then we're gonna put a generous amount of butter into the pot. The whole idea is to cook this at a fairly low temperature. It's quite an extravagant way of cooking. A couple of tablespoons full of butter, we'll just pop that little swede in, and then a couple of sprigs of thyme, just to give it a bit of flavour. Pop a pinch of salt in, and also just a little bit of garlic, just to give it some flavour. So that's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. The next bit that we're going to address is the mustard fruits. So we take a couple of pieces out, and then I was thinking, how do I get that onto the dish and make it look pretty? So my idea is not to try and cut this into a measured shape. Let's have a look at this fondant. It's just starting to colour up and look really beautiful. We can chuck some cool butter in there. And then what we'll do is we'll turn it over at this stage. And it's bubbling up. That's the moisture in that butter. And what that moisture does is just cool that fondant down. How beautiful. That look beautiful?
Yum.
We'll let that bubble away until it's nice and soft. And if the butter's starting to sizzle, we can put a little dash of water in there and that just knocks it back. OK, Danny, let's refry the rabbit leg and the livers. Pop that leg in on the skin side. Yep, that's right. And then put these livers in and the kidneys. It's nice and hot.
Yep.
So what we want to do is sear those livers really quite quickly. It would have been the same way as you would have made the pate, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So that's what we want.
Yep, gorgeous.
And we want to anticipate that these are going to cook very, very quickly. So it's about getting a really nice golden brown. Then just take it back out, all right? I get to this stage, you need to grab a spoon and we're going to baste this rabbit leg. So what we'll do is pop these livers back in. That's beautiful, isn't that lovely? OK, let's pop those onto the paper towel. Don't they look delicious? And I think the key here is, if you're going to make a pate, it really has to be worth the effort. OK, let's go and plate this up.
All right.
So the fondant, the rabbit, and of course, the jus. Now, I'm just going to go pretty standard. Let's put that fondant on. And where should we pop these, do you think? Little kidney somewhere?
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is just create a bit of symmetry or balance on the plate. What I would do is I'd look through this little salsa and try and pick up on my spoon those little ingredients and colour that I want to see on the plate. Go on, just pop it on. See what you come up with. Yeah, now we're talking. So, now the jus. And I'm not going to put too much jus on. Final little flurry of green. We've got some mash, little mash leaves. Looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with that. Let's bring your one over here. The skill that you were trying to demonstrate by making that little ball of pate, you could have demonstrated by making the farce for the rabbit. Just something to accentuate the shape of that beautiful rabbit leg. Danny, cheers, big ears.
Thank you.
Back to the bench. Right, next dish we're going to tackle, a good one. Might recognise this one, Michael. The Korean challenge.
I pan roasted the fish, so I just tried to cook it till it was sort of, just that sort of turning opaque.
I like the fish cooked through as well.
Right, yeah. But I mean,
mackerel is just one of those things. It shouldn't be dry.
You had a ton of ingredients and a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Get up here, let's fix it.
Sure.
Right, Michael, tell me what you did. What were the dishes?
Mackerel with a Korean sort of stir fry.
Yep. pickled cucumbers in there.
With a bit of chilli
and then what was this little pile of stuff over this side?
It was a Korean mackerel tartare.
Okay. The problem, 2 dishes on one.
Yeah.
So I looked at it and I said, what would I love to use? Mackerel I love, but I love to eat it like this as a tartare. And I thought about the kimchi because that's ultimately Korean and I love kimchi, which is a chili pickled cabbage. So that's what we're going to do.
Cool.
Mackerel with kimchi and we'll make a lovely little dressing. Beautiful. Actually, we're going to use the same dressing you made because I thought it was delicious.
Beautiful.
And I want to make a sweet syrup around that. So the way I'm thinking about it is just that I've got that hotness, the freshness from the fish, and then something sweet to finish it off, right? So what we're going to do is we'll make a sweet vinegar. So we'll pop this on the heat, and we're just going to use double sugar to vinegar. So I've got about 4 tablespoons full of sugar. We're just going to flood that with vinegar, and then we're going to bring that to the boil, fairly heavy syrup, and then what I want you to do is chuck the ginger and the chilli in there, a little squeeze of lime juice. Yep. And we'll sort of candy that together. In fact, chuck the lime in as well. And we'll pop these little spring onions in later. Now, you used nashi pear as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So let's do some dice. All right, we'll put that on a simmer, and I think we'll cut some fish. Sure. So this is the Spanish mackerel. It's absolutely a beautiful piece of fish, really soft flesh. So what I'd like you to do is just take the skin off, and I'm going to slice it like a little sashimi. I think if it's too thick, then what we'll end up with is an imbalance of flavour and too much fish. You know? So people can be a bit uncomfortable, especially when you get a lot of fish. You know, it's left in your mouth and you're chewing just fish. Plate. Okay, so fish is done. Got some little garnishes cut. We've got your sauce made. Now we go back to this little pickling mixture, all right? So it's really quite sweet. And what I want to be able to do is just steep these ingredients. So we've got the cucumber, got some of our nashi pear, and we've got some of our spring onions, all right? And then all I want to do is just tip that over the top and just let that steep and infuse. Right, so the next bit, we're going to plate up. Now, I want to use the kimchi because I think this is an essential part of the Korean idea that we came up with. So what I'm doing is just taking little bits of the kimchi, which is a pickled cabbage, right? And then I want to pop a little piece of that beautiful Spanish mackerel over the top.
Oh, lovely.
All right, so it's like a little individual spoonful, all right? And then we can pop that onto the plate. So a little bit of this dressing. Love this. I think it's a really, really tasty dressing. So we'll put a bit of this on. All right. And I think what we need to do is we just need to then drop a few of these ingredients on and making it look really pretty and creating some textures.
Oh, wow.
And I reckon that looks
definitely looks better than
like
mine.
a smashing dish. And I'm salivating because I love that chili sauce that you made and I love that beautiful Spanish mackerel. And I imagine that chili hit and crunch from the kimchi, that beautiful hot sauce that you made, and then that sweet candied ginger. And essentially, that's everything that you had on your plate.
Yeah.
Or that's everything that you had access to, but just plated it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And remember, instead of trying to cram 2 dishes on one, just keep them separate, make one beautiful dish, and there you go. All right, there we have it. Dish version 1 and dish version 2. Michael, you can do this too. Just takes a bit of thought. Well done.
Thank you.
Great dish, brilliant dish. All right?
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, Gary.
Next on MasterClass,
That meat should be just starting to fall off the bone.
Gary's sensational braised short ribs with Chinese cabbage.
1 pot, Christmas spices, gorgeous.
And still to come, Anthea Leonard's Guide to Sugar Art.
Cake decorating is a craft. The art is in your styling, your ideas, your colour schemes. Who's Olivia?
Olivia is my goddaughter.
Oh, gorgeous.
We're right in the middle of winter. Chilly nights, and for me, it's all about one-pot cooking. But there's a certain section of the community that like to celebrate Christmas in July at around about this time of the year. And for many people, that means revisiting that classic Northern Hemisphere roast turkey, Christmas pudding, mince pies. I've been in this country for 20 years and I don't celebrate my Christmas with turkey. For me, it's prawns, it's fish, it's, you know, beautiful fresh salads. I mean, it's 40 degrees generally, so that's my Christmas. So even when I think about Christmas in July, I try and think of an Australian Christmas. And so my winter meal and my Christmas spices get put together. And Christmas spices for me, cinnamon, star anise, orange, mandarins, things like that, things that are really fragrant. So the dish that I'm going to cook today is a braised short rib with Chinese radish. And when I talk about Chinese radish, I mean this thing, which is daikon. Now, daikon's the Japanese name for this kind of radish, or mouli in French, and it's beautiful. It's got that cellular, crunchy texture and takes on any flavour that you cook with it. So, let's get into it. First up, we're going to pop a little bit of oil into a pan. It's nice and hot. And we're going to caramelise the short ribs. Now, short rib is a beautiful, cheap piece of meat. Obviously from the rib section, from the beef, all right? It's got a good chunk of meat on. It braises down absolutely beautifully. It can be quite fatty. If it is, you can remove some of that fat before you cook it. So we just divide that down between the ribs, so you've got nice chunky pieces of beef, and pop them straight into the pan. It's not entirely necessary, but it's just my European training. Can't help myself. Want to caramelise stuff. Doesn't have to be really brown. It's just getting a bit of that meaty caramelisation. And no seasoning, because we're going to be using soy sauce in this recipe, so that's going to be very salty. So we just want a light golden brown. We don't want to put too much colour on. So I've got about 800 grams of beef short rib here, which I consider plenty for a family of 4. All right, so while they're sealing off, we've got a couple of spices that we're going to pop into this braise. And the first one is Szechuan pepper. And we're just going to smash those a little bit in the mortar and pestle. So I've got about a teaspoon of those. Going to smash them just to release that fragrance. And we'll pop those in with the other whole spices. So next into the pan, I've got 1 onion, which I've just cut into 8s. Nice big wedges. 10 cloves of garlic. Seems a lot, but as that cooks, the flavour's obviously going to be quite mild. And I'm going to put in some thick slices of ginger. And depending on how thickly you do these, you can eat this at the end. This braise is going to take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to cook. So by the time you get to the end, everything you put in here, you know, the soft aromatics like the ginger, the chilli, you should be able to eat. So pop the ginger in. Chilli, just in some nice big pieces. You can take the seeds out if you want. In goes the chilli. And then what I'm going to put in is some fermented chilli bean paste, all right? So this has just got lovely flavour, all right? And there's obviously just fermented soybeans and chilli. Get that from a good Asian grocer. It's one of those little bottles that you go along and you go, ooh, looks interesting, let's buy it, see what I can do with it. But I love this stuff, and it gives it a little bit of a flavour boost, which I love. So, a couple of tablespoons. If you can't find it, don't bother putting it in. This stew is going to have a ton of flavour. So we pop in the Szechuan pepper and just allow that to cook out in the oil just for a minute or two. And then the other spices, which was the star anise and the cinnamon sticks. So I've got about 6 star anise and about 4 cinnamon sticks. And I see these as almost part of the garnish as well. It looks so beautiful, and the fragrance that you get from this as it cooks is really delicious. Just give this a little shuffle around, and I'm not trying to fry this or caramelise it. It's just about getting those flavours together and just bringing those aromatics out. You know, the ginger, the garlic, the cinnamon, all those little bits and pieces, the chilli, just getting them to start to work, all right? If you're really in a hurry, you can honestly just throw all of the ingredients together and chuck the beef in. But I've cooked it a couple of different ways, and this is my favourite. So that's the first part of the braise done. All the aromatics, the beef, some of the vegetables in. So next in are all the liquids, the soys, the Shaoxing wine, and the stock, and that'll start the braising.
Up next...
These are like my favourite flavours. You can just get hints of that star anise and the cinnamon coming through and a little kick of chilli.
Gary hits a home run with his Christmas-inspired one-pot wonder.
You'd be crazy if you didn't love this.
So we're cooking a winter favourite of mine, a big, hearty one-pot wonder, and that's braised short rib with Chinese radish. The beef, all the aromatics, the spices, some of the vegetables are in, including the ginger and the onions. So what we're going to pop in next are the elements of the master stock. So a good master stock's always going to have Shaoxing rice wine, it'll have a light soy and a dark soy, and I've got all 3 of those. First of all, the dark soy, I've got about 125 mils. You can put less in. It just really depends how strong you want this to be. I like it to have a lot of depth. Got 125 mils of light soy. And I've got 375 mils of Shaoxing rice wine. And this is lovely and fragrant. You can use dry sherry, but to be honest, it's so readily available now, that's what I'd buy. And then to top it up, because obviously they're really strong, those ingredients, you want a good quality, low salt stock, all right? You don't want the salt in it, because obviously the soy's really salty. So that's 1 litre of chicken stock. Now what I've got on the side is some water, okay? I'm gonna put a little bit of that in now, because I wanna make sure that those ribs are just covered. As it cooks, I actually don't want that liquid to reduce down. It's going to get too strong. So as you start to lose liquid through evaporation, top it up with that water. You might need another 750 mils or 3/4 of a litre during that hour and a half to 2 hours of cooking. Now that smells fabulous already. Really lovely aromatics, some lovely spices, and we'll just get that to know each other in there. But we've got some other flavours to pop in. First one is yellow rock sugar, and that's like a sugar candy that you find in Chinese stores. You know, it's quite heavily used. It's got a lovely flavour to it, slightly different to white sugar, but you can use white sugar. So I've just got a couple of chunks, so we'll pop those in, and that'll dissolve and give that braise a nice background sweetness. The reason I use things like yellow rock sugar is if you're going to make a braise like this, a master stock, then you should go to an Asian grocer or go to the supermarket, look in the Asian section and try and buy the genuine stuff. Then you're going to get those real flavours. So next up, I'm going to pop in some mandarin peel. This is preserved mandarin peel. And again, it's got a very distinct sort of salty, sulphurous, citrus peel smell, okay? Like little sort of brown chunks of the skin. So about 4 or 5 pieces, depending on how big they are. So next up, I've got some dried shiitake mushrooms that I've rehydrated. Now these take a couple of hours to soak in water. So what we do is we pop those in, including the juice, the water that we soaked them and rehydrated the mushrooms in. So there's about 10 or 12 shiitake mushrooms. And because I like a little bit of that fresh orange flavour in there as well, and I'm thinking again of Christmas spices, so I reinforce that with orange zest and the orange juice. In with the orange juice. No point taking the zest off and not using the juice. Okay, and the last little bit that we're going to do at this stage, before we now pop a lid on and braise for the next hour or so, is just put in some coriander roots. So I've just shred those and pop them in. Because again, it's a lovely aromatic, and most of the flavour that's in coriander, as you know, is in the roots, not the leaves. So we save the leaves for the presentation, and then pop the stalks in and the roots in. So what's going to happen here is we're going to pop a lid on, cook it for an hour, and at that point, cut up the radish and drop that in. And then what that means is that all that beautiful stock is going to soak into the radish. We'll give it another half an hour so they're nice and soft, and then it should all be ready. All right, well, let's pop a lid on. We'll all go and have a rest and come back to it later. So lid off. And we've been topping that up with water so it doesn't reduce, because remember, it'll get too salty, too jammy, which we don't want. So what I do is just cut these up into big rounds, because for me, a lot of this dish is the pleasure of the radish itself. And so we're just going to drop these in. So what's lovely about daikon or Chinese radish, it's got that cellular texture like an apple, you know, like a radish where it's got crunch. And of course, they're beautiful for salads, but I like cooking them through so that it's nice and soft. And that completely changes, you know, your sort of expectation of what it's going to taste like. So these will go nice and soft over about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll finish it with some fresh spring onions and some coriander, and that's ready to go. Been braising for 2 hours. Should be nice and tender. Remember to check it. That meat should be just starting to fall off the bone. You should be able to push your finger through it. Okay, so that's really, really important. And that smells absolutely delicious. So a couple of things to go in. Remember we had spring onions. So we've got 1 whole bunch of spring onions. And I think we'll take that over, pop it on the bench, put some coriander and shallots, and that'll be done.
Ah, perfect timing, Gary. Perfect timing. I've brought the hot and steamy rice.
Yum.
That looks wonderful.
Really lovely.
I love a Christmas in July, Gary.
So that's my kind of Christmas, braised short ribs with Chinese radish. Right, who wants to taste?
Yes.
Nobody? Okay then. No, come on, over you come. A little bit of rice.
Oh.
Here. Here's a little radish. Have a little radish.
Oh, you want more radish? So good. Do you want some rice?
That's soft.
Is it?
These are like my favourite flavours. Master stock braise. It's beautiful. You can just get hints of that star anise and the cinnamon coming through and a little kick of chilli. And the meat is so tender. And I mean, you'd be crazy if you didn't love this.
It definitely has that Christmas aspect, but it's just a perfect winter dish, like really warm and filling, and I'd eat the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely adore slow-cooked meats, and this, I can just, push my fork straight through it, and it's just, it just absolutely falls apart. It's beautiful.
Enough Christmas cheer. Bowls down, back to your seats.
Thank you. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So my 3 top tips for the perfect braised short ribs with Chinese radish are: use short ribs. They're a great secondary cut and braise absolutely beautifully. And number 2, discover some new ingredients in the Asian grocer. Things like the mandarin peel or the fermented chili soybean. And thirdly, don't let the braise reduce. Just keep topping up with water and then you'll keep those lovely fresh flavours. It'll all be there right at the end and it'll taste delicious.
When we return,
You're squeezing and stopping, so you get that nice teardrop.
it's Sugar Art 101 with top cake decorator and designer Anthea Leonard.
Fantastic cake. Ta-da!
Today we're doing something totally different in the private masterclass. We're going to Sweet Art and we're going to do some sugar work and learn about all things you can do with sugar. So it's really cool, something I never would have seen before.
I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store. There are the most incredible cakes here. They're just adorable.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Sweet Art.
I'm Anthea Leonard and I'm the owner and creative director of Sweet Art. I'm the matriarch of the family of Sugar Art. We make cakes for everyone. We ship them to New York City, we go to Brunei, we've even sent them to Mexico. I've been lucky enough to have 30 years of fantastic success here at Sweet Art, and I think it's because I have love and passion about what I do.
Today's masterclass is about sugar art. Now, you can use it in all sorts of food preparation, not just cake decorating. By the end of the day, you'll have an understanding of the different techniques that we use, and you will have a cake to decorate and practice on. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do borders. You've got a piping bag on your table. Roll your bag down so that you can put the icing in it. You've got a spatula in front of you. Now, when you pick it up, make sure you put it down, like use your thumb to actually clean your icing. You want me to show you again? So it's here, you're putting it in the bag and you're using your thumb to pull back so that the icing stays there, otherwise you'll find it comes up too far. Now, only put about 2, maybe 3 scoops in it. If you have too much icing and you're not used to piping, it'll come out the top. Okay, pull your bag back up. Push your icing down like you're milking a cow. Twist it. Now hold it down and hold it in your hand so that you've got this tight. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do borders. So what you're doing here is practicing your pressure technique. So you're squeezing and stopping, and as you stop, you pull away so you get that nice teardrop. Squeeze, pull, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
Fast and consistent.
It looks beautiful.
So don't forget that you can use this technique with mashed potato. Obviously, you wouldn't use a serrated tip, but you can use it with chocolate. Now, Ilana, you don't hold your bag like that because you've got no pressure. You're using your fingers for the pressure, and you've got to use your hand. That's it. So this muscle in your hand is really helpful. Can you see a difference?
Yeah, much more control.
Much more control. Did I just see someone eating icing?
Yep.
Tastes good.
Yeah, you like it? Oh, that's good. That's good. It's got to taste good.
Yeah. Squeeze, pull. Squeeze, pull.
Okay. Yes, squeeze, pull, squeeze. Sounds like an exercise, doesn't it? Okay, so now we're going to start writing. You've got a practice board there, so I might bring a practice board for myself. So what I'd like you to do is start from one end and squeeze it and lay it down onto the cake. Cake decorating is a craft. The art is in your styling, your ideas, your colour schemes. So now, you've got your name in your head? Okay, go for it. So, join, you're laying it down. Then I'm layering this up and down. And then I'm squeezing, 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 and I'm stopping.
Wow. Okay, that's really good.
Okay. Michael, you keep eating the icing. There's not going to be any left. How's it going, Danny?
Yes, okay.
Who's Olivia?
Olivia is my goddaughter.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, she's really
That's why
cute.
you've got that heart
She's
there.
one.
You're doing really well. It's tricky, isn't it? You've all done fantastically well. Now it's up to you and practicing, and we're going to move on to stenciling. So what we're going to do is you're going to put your stencil on your cake. Now, this is a practice cake, remember, so it's going to end up having a lot of different techniques on it today. So put your stencil in the spot that you want it and keep a hold of it. Pick up a little bit of icing, the end of your palette knife. Now just a little bit, you don't want too much, and smooth it on. Now you're pushing the icing and getting it very, very thin and as even as possible. Now once you've got your icing smooth, you need water. Dip your spatula in the hot water, clean it really well, wipe it on your towel and smooth out your icing. Okay, are we ready to lift? As soon as you lift it, you'll see that I've even gone over the edge a bit. So I'll clean that up, yeah? Oh, yay! Great colour scheme too. Fantastic. So now all we need to do is clean up, but I don't know how that happened, but you've got water on your cake.
That's okay.
The
I think it
thing
was the
about
drip.
RTR icing is it hates water. It's sugar, so drop of water, it melts a hole in it, yeah? You've all done fantastically well, yeah? But don't do any more stenciling on them, please, because I've got so much more to teach you. You need the space.
Still to come.
Michael, how are we going?
Good, yeah, just throwing it together, you know.
More amazing sugar art basics with one of Australia's top cake designers.
Oh, I'd love some glitter.
So our masterclass today is about sugar art. We have covered piping, stenciling, which you could see was incredibly fast, and cutting out icing is going to be even faster. The slowest thing about doing cutouts is the kneading of the icing. So in front of you, you'll see you've got some coloured icing. So if you'd like to choose your first colour and choose your cutters, because you've got an array here. The icing that we're going to be using to do this is the same as the icing that we've covered cakes. It's called RTR, some people call it pêtissance. It is just sugar with gelatin. You only need about half what I've made you at this point. Bit of corn flour. Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Beautiful.
Yes. Absolutely.
Let's go. So it's like kneading clay. So as soon as it's kneaded to something that you feel is pliable, roll it. Now you don't want to be rolling it very thickly. You must try and get it quite thin.
Anthea, what kind of thickness are we aiming towards? A mil?
A mil and a half.
Yep.
Here we go. Okay. You've got your star. You want to put it on your cake. Get your paintbrush, a little tiny bit of water, and then on your cake. It's that easy. There are no rules with these. You don't even need to use cutters. You can actually just cut it out with your knife. You can cut out anything, letters, numbers, logos, anything.
My unborn children are not having cakes like this.
Are we all ready for the next little trick?
Yeah.
What we're going to learn now is construction. It's a quick little lesson, invaluable. How to join bits of things together. This could be chocolate, this could be gingerbread, it could be anything, yeah? So what you have to do is you're going to be using royal icing for that. So what I want you to do is to take that lesson of piping in a straight line and pipe it along the edge. So you're joining it up like you would a building.
Pipe one side?
Just one side. Before you put your other side on, I want you to support your insides just to make it a bit stronger, right?
It's like double bricking a house, really, isn't it?
That's right. Now, you can run your finger up if you want to make that a bit softer. OK, now can you imagine if this was chocolate and you filled it with mousse and then you put berries on the top and a bit of cream or ice cream? Yeah. Fantastic, easy dessert, yeah? Now, you can actually use your coloured icing that you have from your last technique and do patterns up the sides if you want to.
I know, it looks so pretty.
It does look really pretty. You can even use royal icing on chocolate as well. So do you want to try that? Just to see if you can decorate your box. Fantastic, Kate. What can I say? Ta-da! So now we're going to wrap up all the techniques that you've learnt today and let you finish your cakes. Have fun with it. Okay, that's the best thing about cake decorating is you can just go into the zone and you can have fun.
Okay, let's go. I'm going to make some of my stuff shiny, I think.
I feel like I'm back in primary school. Art lesson, just create what I want.
Oh, I'd love some glitter.
You would?
I'm going to be on the biggest sugar high tonight.
Michael, how are we going?
Good, yeah, just throwing it together, you know.
Well, you've decorated nearly every square inch of this thing. Top 3 tips for making sugar art. The first one is bake your cake the day before and have your entire design worked out. The next tip is water is your friend, it's also your worst enemy. It'll make holes in your icing, but it will stick anything together that you want it to. Third one, keep your tables clean. After every single process, clean up. It's the biggest gift you can give yourself. Thank you all for coming. It's been fantastic to meet you. I hope you've learnt some great tips and remember that you can use these techniques across the board with any type of food, not just sweet food.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Mine's better.
Thank you.
Wow, the cake
For you.
Pass that down.
Drain the vein. Got all the sports videos. Did you do these, George?
Yeah,
fried
reckon, oh my goodness.
And what was the sauce? Yeah. All I can say is what a tiny little family table we have now. And what you've got to realise is that you are just about to slip into finals week. The question is it your lucky day? Here's to winning.
Here's to
Cheers.
Good luck.
Next time on MasterChef Australia.
From the moment we swing open that doors, I know this is going to be different.
Finals week commences with international superstar Curtis Stowe.
He's in the MasterChef kitchen and he's looking all right.
Curtis will challenge our top 4 to create their own cookbook recipes.
You have to be really specific and making sure that it makes sense for somebody else. It's bloody hard, guys.
Using the MasterChef house as a proving ground.
Everyone's working frantically.
And everyday home cooks to test the results.
These ladies are going to cook your dish exactly to your recipe.
I think I've made a huge mistake already.
It's too much preparation for me.
Ridiculous. That recipe was like 12 pages long.
Tell me about it.
But for the winner, all that sweat will be worth the prize.
Yum.